Hey,
Hello, Brian. Welcome back.
thanks.
Have a seat. So last time we met, we talked a little bit about the mandatory disclosure agreement about client rights, confidentiality, and privacy.
hmm
Do you have any questions about that?
No, it was all pretty self-explanatory.
Okay. Well, we also talked a little bit about why you came to therapy. So I'd like for us to go into that a little bit more.
Okay.
What brings you into therapy?
Well, I've just been dealing with a lot of stress at work and in my just personal life, and it's gotten to the point of feeling overwhelming at times, and just trying to cope with it. And it's coming in a lot of different forms right now. A lot has to do with work, but just I know that I'm not dealing with it always in the way that I should. And so I figured that, speaking with somebody about it might be the first step to improving the way it impacts me and the ways that I deal with it when it's heavy like it is now.
So it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of stress that is impacting different areas of your life. And I think that's pretty common for a lot of people. So can you tell me what is your main source of stress at this time?
Mm, it's probably work related for the most part. It's there's challenges where I don't get the support that I need at work for the expectations that are in front of me. I'm in sales, and so that's always stressful. And I have a really high quota, and in order to achieve it, in previous roles, I've had different support mechanisms with different ends of the business, and I don't have that here because it's a small company. And so a lot more is on my shoulders that I don't typically do. So, not to bore you with the details, but um, we don't really have a lot of different departments, and so I'm doing things in marketing, I'm doing things in accounting, I'm doing things in like the early stage sales process, and those are all things that typically other people have done. So I feel a lot of work and not enough hours in the day to do it. And and then obviously I have to perform and hit my numbers, and then there's no process in place, so it's always doing something different every time, and that gets me feeling anxious because I don't know what to expect when I come into a day. And I'm kind of a person that I like to know what to expect in my day-to-day routine, and I don't get that where I'm at. I do like where I'm at. I like the challenges, but it's just creating a lot of stress, and then I end up taking that home with me. Um, Whether it's impacting the way I interact with my wife or my friends. I know with my friends, I kind of shut down a little bit, and I don't reach out to them as much. I kind of like hole up a little bit, and um, that I know that that's not good. I don't answer calls when friends call sometimes. So um, yeah, those are just that's the starting point of it all, I think.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you're experiencing different stresses at work, like feeling overwhelmed, doing the role of several people, not knowing what to expect in terms of processes, um, and then you feel stress and you take that home. And with your interactions in your family and your friends. Um, is that correct? Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, it's and then it it impacts the way I sleep, or the lack thereof, I guess. It
Mm-hmm.
impacts, I don't do the things that I typically enjoy doing that bring, joy to my life, because I end up thinking about all the things I have to do on Monday or the next day, or it just kind of starts compounding on each other to where it starts feeling like a hole I can't climb out of.
Okay, so you're also not doing things that may otherwise help you be able to manage and cope with your stress.
It's kind of a catch-22 because the things that I'm not doing are the things that alleviate stress. But the more stress I get, the less I want to do those things. So I don't really know how to break that cycle.
Yeah. So, in coming to therapy, what do you hope to gain out of it?
Well, I'd like some tools, and some different ways to look at the situation. Maybe when I'm in a lot of stress. Beyond that, I really just talk to either like my wife or my mom or a friend, but I don't really go into too much depth with everything. And so I feel like even though I'm talking about it, I'm not really getting into the layers that I want to. And I don't really think I should get into those layers necessarily like I talk to my wife, but I'm looking to really dissect kind of what's going on and how I can handle it better and do it with somebody that's not a family member or friend that's just trying to kind of, I'll just hang in there or whatever. I'm trying to actually get some tools to utilize to better manage it.
Okay, so it sounds like you want some tools to take with you and to be able to process what's happening and be able to manage it better. That would be your goal for therapy. So when you take your stress home, what does that look like?
It takes a couple forms probably. The most common is I don't really feel like doing anything the rest of the night. So when we could be going out and doing things, or if there's like chores or something like that, I just feel like just kind of unwinding and shutting down. And I have a role that I need to play with my wife as well. I can't just, it's not just about me, and so I have to be there and present, and I don't feel like I always am. Or sometimes it also takes on the form of being short with her, short with friends, and just that's really when it's balling up a lot. So it's either being disengaged or being short are kind of the two more common.
Okay, and when you have those types of interactions with your wife or your friends, how does that make you feel? What does that do to your stress?
Well, I feel bad about it because that's not who I am. Like, I'm a pretty, spur of the moment, happy go lucky type of person. And that's, I think, why, I have the friends that I have. And I think that's one of the things that my wife likes about me is, just that spontaneity and lightheartedness. And when I don't have that, I feel, bad, and that I'm not being who I need to be for them. And, that's not fair. So I'd like to be able to just kind of leave things at the door a little bit more and kind of reset the switch a little bit when I go home.
So when you're home and you are feeling like you're not enjoying the time with your wife, then that makes you feel bad, right? And that must be really hard for you, because home is probably where you go to want to relax and kind of de-stress and let some of those things from work go.
Yeah.
And you're not able to do that, and it must be really difficult for you.
Yeah, like in a perfect setting, when I'm not stressed, I like to come home. I like to take the dogs out on a long walk. I like to either have, the TV on in the background or just music on in the background, but not have it be, the thing that I'm just sitting in front of, but have it be, just noise in the background, and be like either, cooking dinner or doing some chores to kind of get back into my normal routine after work, or in a lot of occasions plan for something fun, like either play a game at home or go out and do something. We like to bowl, and so going and doing some of those things that brings happiness. So that's what an ideal night looks like, but they're just getting fewer and farther between because everything just seems to be falling up.
Mm-hmm. So when you have a lot of stress and you take it home, and that impacts negatively your relationship, you seem to want to deal with the stress, but what you're doing is making it worse. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I need to give it the attention that it deserves because it's just part of my role, and you make sacrifices when you work, and this is just one of them as I'm in a higher stress type of job. But I just, I'm not doing the things like what I'm doing to just try and cope with it mentally or just to relax aren't necessarily healthy for me. I'm not exercising as much. I'm not interacting with my wife as much, which is, not healthy either. I find myself smoking cigarettes a little bit more than I have in the past, which isn't healthy, obviously, either. So it feels like I'm just like putting a Band-Aid over things for the sake of getting through the day and then on to the next one instead of being able to, put a period to the end of the day and, enjoy what my life really is, which is time with my friends and family and dogs and outside of work.
Okay. So when you deal with stress in unhealthy ways, have you noticed that there are other effects on your health and your well-being?
Well, no, I'm not. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gaining, I'm not as fit as I used to be. But as far as like smoking, I'm not doing it to the point to where I'm like shortness of breath or anything like that. I haven't really ever been a habitual smoker or whatever, but I do kind of see myself doing it more often now. And it doesn't help that others at my office smoke too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the water cooler
Okay.
a little bit. But I'd say the biggest negative health factor is just the quality of life with my wife and my dogs. I don't feel like I have much time to spend at home, and the time that I do have at home isn't the quality time that it used to be. And so, and that's kind of what people should strive, or at least what I strive for, is that's really the life. Work is just what you do to enjoy the life. And right now it's like I'm living to work instead of, working just to be able to live and have fun and,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy life. So it's negatively stress my relationship. I don't think I should be smoking like I am, but that's those are the big health things right now.
Okay, so when you think about your life now and all the stress that you have, and then you imagine your life where the stress doesn't affect you as much,
Mm-hmm.
what is different about that?
I'm hopping on my bike instead of, sitting on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going on longer walks with the dogs instead of just letting them out to do their business.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy cooking as well. And so it's a fun thing that I like doing with my wife, and not really doing that as much. So the healthier ways are more physical, like bike riding and going on walks and hikes and enjoying the evening. And so that's probably more the healthy ways that I should be coping with stress, but I just don't feel motivated to do them right now.
So healthy coping for you looks like recreational activities,
Mm-hmm.
exercising, but right now you don't feel like you have the energy to do those things.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be physical activities. Another healthy thing, I think time at home is also good,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily sitting on the couch, but playing with the dogs or cooking or doing chores that don't then just bottle up for Saturday or Sunday to do, or having good conversation with my wife instead of just your typical, how's your day? How's your day? Oh, it sucks. Oh, mine sucked too. Um, and that's really all you get to. But actually, having the good conversations, because I get intellectually stimulated as well, just by things that aren't your common surface level small talk, and it takes effort to do that, and I don't feel the energy or the motivation to do that also. So it's kind of like the physical activity and the intellectual activity are sacrificing.
So it sounds like what you desire from being at home is more quality type of conversations and interactions with your wife, and doing fun things together that helps you bond and de-stress.
Yeah.
Okay. So, blinking.
Okay.
All right. So, how does your
You want to pause it real quick?
well?
Because then you can go back and hit record or something. I think so. Or just
I don't want to ruin the whole video.
Okay.
Rudy, come on. So you mentioned that you want to spend more, have more quality interactions with your wife. Does she know that you want this, or that this helps you?
I think in the past she did. I think she, in good faith, probably, I hope she assumes it, but I can't say for certain that she knows it, because I've been kind of focused on it for so long now that I guess I just am hoping that she still knows it, and not really 100% certain if she does.
Is this something that you would feel comfortable sharing with her? Or talk to her about?
Yeah.
And how do you think that would go?
Good. I'm sure it's things that she wants to be in on my life a little bit more, and so I think it would be well received that I'm making an effort to kind of share deeper what's going on, and that it's been bothering me, and that these are things that I want to be doing and changing, and that I acknowledging that I've kind of gotten into a rut a little bit, and she's always been a good partner if I ask for help on things, like if I come home, help me kind of come out of the funk a little bit, and there's times where I don't want to, and I kind of need her to be able to leave well enough alone in kind of those instances. But on those other times where it's just been kind of your average day or whatever, to kind of ask for her help to keep me motivated and driven to do those things, because a lot of how she is when I get home kind of predicates how I respond to. And so I think just sharing that with her would help her kind of prepare and plan on when he gets home, this is what I'm going to try and help him with, or something like that.
So it sounds like just more open communication between the two of you would really help you be able to deal with those stresses, and for her to be able to respond in the way that you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about small changes that you can make to be able to deal with your stress a little bit better, what are some ideas that come to you?
They kind of go hand in hand, but if I went to bed earlier in the evening, then I feel like I would get better sleep, and that would not only help with my coping mechanisms, like when you're rested, you're able to do more, but it would also help me maybe even wake up earlier. And I know if maybe I gave myself 30 extra minutes in the morning to get into work, I could do things before my day actually gets chaotic to alleviate some of the stress through it. But it's a hard cycle to break, because there's still stressful days. Even if I go in 30 minutes earlier, it's still going to be a highly stressful day. And then when I get home, I'm just going to, it takes me a while to wind down. And I need time, just kind of that quiet time. And I don't get that too much. So I'm trying to, figure out a small change to go to bed an hour earlier, wake up 30 minutes earlier, and get my day started, which would help me probably be more efficient. And then I might even be able to come home a little earlier, to where we have more time in the evening to do the things. I think another thing, a small change that might help, is instead of when I drive home, come in and just try and get started right away, like either dinner or chores or whatever, to maybe the first thing I do when I get home is actually like go for like a 15-minute walk with the dogs, to where it's kind of like resetting me a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then not even try to interact yet necessarily with like my wife, or try and get into my evening routine until I've done that, because I feel like I just go from like stress to stress. And so if I try and get myself in a better spot before I actually like go upstairs and spend time together, that I'd be in a better mindset.
So sleep, it sounds like, is an issue.
Yeah.
And your stress is really impacting your ability to rest, which then kind of recharges you to be able to deal with stress for the next day. And when you don't have that rest, then you sleep in, and you're at work later, and you may be less productive during the day. So it seems to be really like the sleep aspect of that solution, or that coping skill, would really benefit you in other areas.
Yeah, the only thing that makes it difficult, because I would love to go to bed earlier, is just my mind doesn't shut off.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed there's been times where I've tried, like my wife and I would try, like a guided meditation at night or whatever, and that certainly relaxes me. But I just, in a sense, kind of feel shortchanged in the evening if I don't have a little bit of quiet time. Because at the end, I'm still a guy, and like I like to get caught up on sports for the day, and I don't want to waste time spent with my wife and the dogs and everything doing that when I should be interacting during that time. So I like to get caught up on sports. I have a couple of shows that I record, and like to watch those. And that quiet time is what really, it resets me, but then at the end of the day, it just keeps me up late. And then if I'm up till 1 or 2 in the morning, waking up at, 6:30 or 7:30 or whatever, then, it's different than as if I was waking up at 6, out the door by about 6:45, and then at the office by, somewhere between 7:15, and that would just give me more, but I can't break the cycle right now.
Okay. So breaking the cycle is hard for you because you want to get in your quiet time, your time to wind down, and it sounds like that's through watching favorite television shows and sports. But then that also keeps you up later, which continues to add to your stress.
Yeah.
So while you are winding down, you're also making your stress worse. So is there maybe another way for you to be able to quiet down your mind? Because it sounds like you just have racing thoughts about everything during this quiet time?
Well, I always know, like in previous roles, it's been shown, if you do something for about 3 weeks or what they say, like 21 days, it turns into a habit. And in the past, I've tried helping myself fall into that habit by like setting an alarm on my phone to where when it goes off, like that's it. Like, I give myself the time still, but if I don't set the alarm, then I just go until I'm exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I set the alarm, I'm kind of giving myself a final point. I know when it's coming, and it can kind of help create a habit for me a little bit. And then, I know like when I read, it usually, it calms my mind, and it makes me tired and I want to go to bed after 30-45 minutes of reading or whatever. But I also have to be in the mood to read, so that's not like a every night thing for me.
Right.
Because then I'm also, again, I like getting caught up on certain things. So I think if I were to maybe come up with I give myself 3 out of the 5 work days to not read, but to just kind of, get caught up on my shows or TV or something like that, and set my alarm so that I do go to bed then at that time. And then on the other 2 days, I don't do the TV thing, and instead, I go to bed and, lay in bed and read with my wife or something like that. So if I split it up and I try and hold to that schedule, and I ask for help to, holding me within that schedule, that might help break the cycle a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So what ends up happening is that you watching your TV and you're falling asleep on the couch and you're not going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how does that affect, your wife when you don't come to bed?
Well, it's, because if I do come to bed, if I've been up too late, because sometimes I'll fall asleep and then I'll wake up and it's still like I would go to bed. But then if I do, I know I'm getting the dogs woken up, and then they kind of shift around, and that then wakes my wife up, and so it's not fair to wake her up, and so it's kind of impacting then her sleep and rest. And so and then of course, just the closeness and everything that comes from going to bed and waking up with each other. It even though you're sleeping and not really with it, it's still good time with each other. It's good time to spend with each other. So it impacts her that way.
And how does sleeping with your wife together, how does that make you feel?
Good. Obviously, I mean, I that's part of getting married is, you have your partner to go to bed with and wake up with, and that's something I think everybody kind of yearns for. And so I always feel better. And there's a big difference between a couch and a bed when you're talking about comfort and quality of sleep, and a deeper sleep, obviously. So it's better.
Are there some scheduling, like what time does your wife go to bed?
No later than like 10.
And then what time are you usually falling asleep out, like on the couch?
I would say sometime between 1 and 2. If I do, there's a lot of times where I don't, and I'm just like, I can't shut my eyes until like 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like, I'm not even getting tired until that time.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do fall asleep, it's because it's like the exhaustion has just gotten caught up with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the alarm would help. And then there's the times where it's just so much going on in my brain that I can't shut my eyes, and I couldn't do it at 1. I couldn't do it at 2. It's a struggle to even do it at 3. Because the way I see it is, kind of the latest that I want to get up in the morning is about 7:15. If I do that, I can usually be out the door with enough time to be to work by roughly 8, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm constantly like, what's the latest I can do? And then my morning sacrificed, or I'm rushing around, and it's like a stressful way to start the day. So
okay.
I really think starting the alarm would help.
So why don't we set a goal for next week and you choose what you want to do, but maybe pick one way that you can manage your stress this week in a healthy way, whether that's setting a bedtime or getting to the gym or whatever that looks like for you.
Well, what would your recommendation be? Because I can do one, I like the idea of setting one, but to me it's like if that one was get to the gym, I'm not getting enough sleep and I'm not quieting my mind down enough to even make the gym productive. And so if you were to suggest one of those mechanisms that would help the most, like what do you think would be maybe the best place to start?
Well, it sounds like sleep is really like the stress is impacting your sleep. So I think that doing some breathing exercises to help you quiet your mind would be able to help you ease into sleep a little bit better. And also these techniques you can use during the day when you're just feeling really overwhelmed at work, or you just had a fight with your wife, or you're avoiding your friends and feeling bad about it. That would be a useful tool for you to take with you and use whenever you're feeling like you are overwhelmed or you need to quiet yourself.
Okay, so are these breathing exercises something that you're going to give me, or is it something I need to research? Okay.
Yes, well, I will go over one with you, and then you will be able to do that on your own.
Okay.
So, so that's your homework for the week. And just to kind of summarize what we've gone over, sounds like your stress at work is impacting other areas of your life, like your relationships and your sleep, and you're smoking more, and you're sometimes taking your stress out on your, relationships. So you're here in therapy to try to get some tools to be able to manage those situations a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay, so your homework is to do the breathing exercises that we'll go over, and we'll see where we are next week and how you feel.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, Brian.
Yep, thank you. We'll see you
We'll
next
see you
time.
next time.
Yep, sounds good.